Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and this is the Unstoppable Introvert Project podcast. And it is a doozy today. It's all about creating your future. Now, how about that for a podcast episode? So we are going to create that future for you today, and we're going to really get into how you do it. So the thing that separates us from other podcasts, if you're just joining us for the first time, is that we give you practical frameworks to take home today and change your life immediately. We're going to bring it to life with some stories as well. So hopefully by the end of today, you are going to be able to change your life. I don't know why I said hopefully there, because you are definitely going to be able to do this. But before we get into today, I hope your week's been amazing. It's been a special one in our house. My little puppy Luna, who was asleep behind me, you might have seen on Facebook, it was her 6th birthday. I can't believe that she's 6 years old. She's my baby, she's my world. When it comes to creating your future, which, by the way, I hope is big, I hope it's ambitious, I hope it's unstoppable, I hope you are really dreaming for the stars or reaching for the stars. In order to actually go and create that future, we need 4 things. Firstly, I want you to review where you have been. It can be good, it can be bad, it can be ugly. Acknowledge it. 2, decide where you want to go. Remember our well-formed outcomes. That's where they come in from a few weeks ago. Goal setting. Decide where you want to go. Okay? And again, get into the detail about this. Had a few really cool messages on Instagram saying that it was great to hear about the detail around goal setting, around the well-formed outcomes. A friend of mine, Nick, wrote on Instagram and said that they had a 5-year plan, which is amazing, but they didn't have the detail yet. So that is the key. Apply as much detail as you can into that. Then assess where you are now. So we've done previously, we've done in the future. Where are you now? How is it best to get from where you are now to where you want to go? And once we're starting to have an idea of where you're at, it makes it a lot easier to build those steps to where you want to go. So really give yourself an audit. You know, we've talked about different models, things like the GROW model, which you could apply here, and really get into where it is you want to go. And then lastly, address any obstacles by using appropriate techniques that we've talked about so far. So just thinking about your journey, if you wanted to be a trainer designer, something like that, you want to create products, create trainers. I say create trainers because I've just finished reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, who is the creator of Nike. What an incredible story that is, by the way. He was introverted and went from selling handmade trainers out of the back of his car to being worth billions, which is absolutely incredible. Obviously, the story of Nike is huge, and he is one of the most successful American businessmen of all time, and I think his story is incredible. But if you wanted to be like him, is one of the things you'd have to think about is, right, some of my obstacles are, do I have the money to buy the trainers? Do I have the contacts to organize my different factories and get the trainers produced? All these different things. And maybe you want to be a social media influencer, but you don't really know the first thing about being a social media influencer. So that's an obstacle. So just have a really genuine reflect on your current situation. Where have you been? Where do you want to go? Where are you currently? And what is standing in your way when it comes to getting to that outcome? And when you have those 4 questions ironed out, you can then start to plan a compelling and incredible future for yourself. So let's dive into this then. So just continuing that kind of obstacles element. When you identify the problem, can you turn this into a desired outcome? And what that means is, if you find that there are obstacles in your way when it comes to your future, which there will be, if every time you come to an obstacle you quit or get disheartened or stop and trying, you will never achieve what you're meant to achieve. You will never become the unstoppable introvert that I know you can become. And the thing to think about here is, how can you turn it into a positive? So let's just take that example in a different context. So let's say you're that trainer manufacturer, you want to have this new trainer business, you want to compete with Nike and Adidas maybe, but you've got no idea how to sell products. So that's an opportunity, one, to learn a new skill in terms of sales. Two, maybe it's about building a network of a sales team eventually, or maybe it's you actually reaching out to different sales teams and learning about the industry from the inside out. Maybe those networks then help you start your business. So it's all about how can you reframe what you're looking at from that negative into a more positive. So it always comes back to that reframing. I talked about reframing, just about every episode of this podcast because it changed my life. I had 3 things to reframe. I had my morbid obesity, I had my redundancy, and I had my clinical depression. I reframed my morbid obesity into an opportunity to shape myself into the way that I wanted to look. My redundancy was an opportunity to start a business that I'd always wanted to start. And finally, the clinical depression was an opportunity for me to really find happiness and peace. And I was able to go and do that. So it's all about how you view problems. Are they setbacks, or are they just opportunities to learn, to grow, to develop? It's up to you. And then it's that language. Last week we talked about language being a communication ninja. I still absolutely love that term. And this comes to you asking those deep questions about your future. Ask yourself, what do you want? Instead of what don't you want? So a lot of people I know who are ambitious want to start their own businesses. And when I say to them, what is it you want then? They say, well, I don't want to be working in this job. Okay, so what do you want? Well, I want to start my own business. Right, so that is what we want. Always focus on the what you do want rather than what you don't want. And that is going to really help when it comes to creating your future. And then the third part of this, once we've changed that mindset, we've identified that problem and started to use reframing, and then we've started to change our language and started to say what we do want instead of what we don't want. The third one are techniques you can use to overcome barriers to successful achievement of whatever those desired outcomes are. I'm going to give you them. So there's 3 techniques we're going to whip through today to create your compelling future. I'm so excited for you. Firstly, it's the neurological levels of change. Now, Dilts is the person behind this, and we've talked about the neurological levels of change before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I will whip through it, and then we're going to move on to creating your future history now, which is quite a cool thing I'm going to talk you through. And then lastly, we're going to talk about new behavior generators, which again, pretty practical. You're going to be able to take all of this stuff away after this episode and practically apply it. So let's dive into the neurological levels of change. Now, if you remember, there's 6 of these. It's like a pyramid. On the bottom, you have your environment. And this is things like where I am and when and where am I. And that's the biggest layer, easiest to change, but the least impactful. As we go up the pyramid, it gets more impactful. And the next one's our behaviors. So these are things like, what do I need to do differently? So, do you need to talk differently? Do you need to act differently? Do you need to do X, Y, and Z? You have to think about what that might be. The next one's capabilities. So that's things like, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Where are the opportunities to learn? How do you learn? What do you need to learn? You're building this picture of your capabilities. The next one's values and beliefs. So, what's really important in your life? What are your empowering beliefs here? And, you can start to really understand what your values are. Then lastly, vision, which is the pointy end of that triangle, that pyramid. What am I part of? What impact are you having on this world? What does that look like? And this is the most powerful level of the neurological levels of change. Once you start to change this element, you will start to change your life. And again, they all kind of domino effect into one another, certainly from the top down. So for me, when I was starting First Step Lifestyle, which was my health and fitness business for those who had mental health issues, which was the first in the UK to do that, my vision was I want to be a leader for those people who are like me, morbidly obese, maybe clinically depressed or anxious or overwhelmed or having suicidal thoughts. And I want to have a really big impact on those people in a positive way. Then my identity. Who am I? Well, I'm a leader in that field. So I identified as those types of people did, but in a more positive kind of way. Then my values and beliefs. What's really important? Well, understanding, empathy, but also developing amazing relationships and experiences. Then my capabilities. What did I know? I knew about health, fitness, and developing your mental health. But what I didn't know was the entrepreneurial side, starting the actual business. So that's where I needed help with. My behaviours, what will I do differently? Well, there was the whole body transformation thing for me initially. So I've talked about my journey on this podcast already, where I dropped 70 to 80 pounds, changed my mindset, got off medication for depression. That was all behaviours, and that anchored my day. So it changed things like my morning routine, it changed my bedtime routine, it changed my diet, my eating habits, the amount of water I was drinking, the supplements I was taking, the amount I was reading and learning, and all these different things. So my behaviors, changed massively. And then lastly, my environment, I kept everything tidy. So something that you'll find a lot of morbidly obese and depressed people neglect their environment quite often. So it takes so much effort to tidy the house or to make the bed or to iron your clothes. And it's understandable because those people are struggling. And I certainly struggled when I was morbidly obese and depressed. But when I started to get up and to make the bed, it was like there was a little win that had just happened. And that's something that I would say you should start with. Start changing that environment. Keep your desk tidy if you're struggling to concentrate. All these little things just start to help that level of change. So, like I said, they all kind of bash into each other: vision, into identity, into values and beliefs, into capabilities, into behaviors, into environment. And if you can make those top 2 or 3 stick, like I was able to do, you can make some pretty huge changes. So that was in 2018, January 2018 to June 2018. So that 5 or 6 month period is when I had my big breakthrough. It's now February 2024. So that's basically 6 years. Blimey. Wow. I can't believe that's been so long. 6 years. So hopefully I'm an example of how those neurological levels of change can work for you, and you can do it just like I did. So the next one's quite a fun one. Creating your future history now. This is where we use active and creative imagination. And this technique's based on the concept that your past does not dictate your future, but rather it's what you do in the present that is creating your future right now. So I love that saying, your past does not dictate your future. Please, 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 if you're going to take one thing away from today, really acknowledge that. Really say, my past does not dictate my future. And that is something that I can't shout loud enough about. So I've mentioned before, I was a footballer at a fairly elite level until I was 16. It then was from 16 to 25 that I looked back at my life and just saw myself as a failed footballer, that I couldn't do anything right. I'm pretty sure that is what started me on the line towards depression. It made me depressed at 16 for the first time. And then again, when I was a little bit older, I had this other episode of depression. So I'm pretty sure they're linked. But I looked at myself as a failure from 16 to 25. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think that I was good enough to achieve anything. I just thought I was shit, to be perfectly honest, because I'd had this failure. But it wasn't until I thought, well, actually, why does this failure have to impact the next 75 years of my life? and instead started to think about, right, I can actually start to do something more positive with my life today and build an amazing future moving forward for me and Laura, then my life started to change again. So really understand that whatever's happened previously, we've all done our shit, we've all made mistakes, we've all had setbacks, we've all felt hard done by. Don't allow yourself to use that as an excuse not to go and fucking kill your dreams in a good way moving forward. So this idea of creating your future history now is all about using the idea that the conscious mind is the goal setter and the unconscious mind is the goal getter. I'm going to give you 5 steps here to work through. In your house right now, if you're on the treadmill, whack that speed up. If you're driving, keep an eye on the gas pedal. I don't want you speeding. If you're out running, just keep an eye on the speed limit as well. If you're in the gym, lifting those weights, get the extra plates on the bars, because we're getting after our future here. So let's get after it. So 5 steps. Step 1 to creating this amazing, compelling future. Identify and clarify the desired outcome you want to achieve. So be crystal clear on that. If you want to start a business, it can't just be, I want to start a business. No, I want details. What's the offer? What industry? What does it look like? How do you work with clients? What's the customer journey? How much do you charge? Get in as much detail as you can. And we're going to use a powerful combination of memory. We're going to use a powerful combination of creative imagination. And you can really get into this imagery in as much detail as you can, almost to the point where you can touch it. And you can do this maybe not while you're driving, because you can either do it with your eyes closed or with your eyes open. But it's all about focusing your mind and rooting yourself in the here and the now, the present day, where you are and what you have right now. So really clarify what it is you want and the details behind it and what you have right now. Those are the 2 kind of parts to get started with this. The next one, allow your creative mind to be free and your unconscious mind to guide you. So I know that sounds a bit wishy-washy, but try and clear your mind. Try and clear your mind of those self-doubts. So it's very hard to just go straight from I'm a piece of shit who isn't worthy of anything to actually I can go and achieve anything I want in my life. It's hard. So try and block out the noise. Try and block out the, you'll never be able to achieve that. You'll never be able to get that. And if you want to use tangible outcomes, I don't mind at this point. I'll never be able to buy a Ferrari. No, you will. I will be able to buy a Ferrari. Maybe that's part of your end goal. Maybe it's part of buying a nice house. Whatever this is for you, it's your compelling future. Allow your mind to drift there. Remember, dreaming is free. And I think the more you dream is giving you a glimpse into the future that you are meant to have. I think that's a cool saying. Ed Milet, I think, said it first. And he said something like that. Dreams are free. They give you a glimpse into what you can go and achieve. And I think it's something where if you're told, you can go and do this, or you're meant to achieve this, you get a bit of confidence, don't you? You sort of think, yeah, all right, I can do it. So allow yourself to dream. Step 3, imagine transporting yourself to whatever the situation you're thinking about right now, to when you've already achieved it. So if you started that business and you're making 100 million a year with an international fashion brand, take yourself there. Are you a public speaker speaking on stage to hundreds of thousands of people every week? Take yourself there. Are you in a loving relationship and you're getting married on the beach in the Maldives? Take yourself there. Whatever it is to you, picture it. Step 4. Now from this place, review the most important events. So what I mean here is, what were the turning points and the actions that helped create this outcome? What did you have to do to get to this point? And try and imagine that journey from where you were all the way to that image of where you are now. So things like, did you have to network hard? Did you have to spend hours on social media? Did you have to spend time developing your speaking abilities? Did you have to go on dating websites? Were you at lots of networking meetings? You know, all these different things. You're imagining them, but try and think about those steps you took to go from the place you are at this very moment to the place you're imagining yourself. And then step 5, connect powerfully to all of this information. And it's advice from future you, basically. Bring back everything that was useful, the information that you gathered from future you, and create the future you know is now possible. Because like I mentioned, dreaming is free, and that image is giving you a glimpse into what you are meant to achieve on this world. So try and make a note of all those different things, those different steps that you took to get to that imagined future, and then you can create your imaginary future and make it real. Fuck, I'm getting pumped. Yes, we're going to create some incredible futures here. I can feel it. Drop me a message. Let me know what your incredible future is looking like. Send me a DM on Instagram at Dr. David Hooper. I will get back to you. I promise. I love to have a chat with people on there. So please message me. I need a friend. And yeah, if I can help in any way, help you create your compelling future, I will do my best to try and do that. And then the next one I want to leave you with is the new behavior generator. So this is a technique for positive mental rehearsal to improve on existing skills or assist with learning a new one. Neurologically, there is little between a real or vivid imagination experience, which is, I think, is a pretty cool thing to think about. Basically, your brain doesn't know what's a real thought and what's a made-up thought. So that comes back to that previous example of, if you dream, your brain thinks, right, I can achieve this, because it doesn't know what's real and what's not. So let's get into how to generate this new behavior. Step 1, decide what you want to improve or learn, or the situation you want to respond to more resourcefully. So similar to the first one, what is it that you are trying to improve? Now, this is all about behaviors, remember. Is it getting up earlier? Is it working out more? Is it being more confident? Is it being less fearful? Is it being a better partner? Whatever it is, try and get that nailed on. Step 2, using your internal dialogue, ask yourself, what do I want to do differently? How will I look, sound, and feel if I'm doing that? So really get into the nitty-gritty around those behaviors that you want to change. Is it that you want to hold yourself in a different way? Is it that you want to have more eye contact? Is it that you want to feel more confident? Is it that you want to project your voice louder? Is it that you want to be perceived in a different way? And start to get into those different things that will underpin that. Remember, what will you do differently? How will you look? How will you sound? How will you feel? How will you act? And when you start to paint that picture, again, you're starting to bring these behaviors to life. Step 3, relax and allow the pictures and sounds to energize in your mind. Look up and see yourself performing. So again, that visualization, think about how do you look doing the thing, hear any accompanying sounds, listen to what you tell yourself. So again, we're trying to paint a bit of a picture around how you're going about your business, changing that thing, whatever it is, whatever that situation is, you're starting to change it. You're starting to see yourself doing the actual thing. Are you an absolute beast? Are you an unstoppable introvert? Whatever it is, make sure you know what that step 3 is. Step 4, you are the director of your own mental movie. How good is that? Edit until you're satisfied. So that mental movie gives you an opportunity to be the editor. So you can create whatever movie you want, which makes you feel how you want to feel, look how you want to look, act like you want to act. Whether you are absolutely ripped, whether you are really confident, whether you're dressed really smartly, whatever it is, this is where we can start to create that compelling future for yourself with these behaviors. Now, for me, when I was morbidly obese, clinically depressed and redundant, that movie was, I was in great shape, I was very confident, I looked smart and well dressed, I was walking somewhere with purpose to my business perhaps, And I edited that movie, and then I was like, right, I'm going to go and get after it. I'm going to become that person. And I did. So you can do exactly the same thing. Step 5, associate the movie with images that are actually doing what you saw. How does that feel? How does that feel? How does looking at that movie feel? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you energized? Try and nail on those thoughts and those feelings and really get a understanding of how you're feeling when you're watching this movie. Number 6, do an ecology check. So these are things like, what are the effects on you? Is anyone else involved? Are your partners there? Are your friends? Are your family? And really understand how that affects you in a positive way. Step 7, when you're happy with the associated performance that you're giving off in this movie, decide on a subtle anchor that will remind you to use this new skill. So we've talked about anchors previously. I talked about when I was Superman, when I used to open my shirt to feel more confident. That confident behavior was the anchor. Rob was very similar, who used to use the circle of excellence and throw it on the floor, step into it, feel a lot more confident. What anchor do you need? And remember as well, I talked about the anchor where there was confidence flowing around you, and you picked it up and gripped it like a fist, held it close to you, and you'd feel confident. Then you could let it go and it would spin around you again and you'd feel really confident. Try and figure out what that is for you. And we can then anchor those amazing thoughts and feelings with this anchor, obviously. And then lastly, future pace. And what that means is, imagine the anchor happening. Imagine responding in that situation in this new way. And that is really going to help you solidify how you're feeling, and it's going to help you generate these new behaviors. And those new behaviors are going to enable you to create this compelling future that I'm so excited for you to do. So with all of that information, we've got the neurological levels of change where we can really go through that process of changing our environment, our behavior, capabilities, our values and beliefs, our identity and our vision. And we also have our creating your future history now. Remember, your past does not dictate your future, but rather it is what you do in the present that is creating your future. So remember, it's what you're doing now. Don't look back too much. Do not allow what you've done previously to dictate what you do today. And that is one of the key things that I want you to take away from today's episode. And please message me at Dr. David Hooper on Instagram. Let me know what your compelling future is. I'd love to hear from you. And then lastly, we've got our new behavior generator. This is a tool for generating those behaviors that are going to allow you to achieve your compelling future. So remember, we can dive into that mindset work again, really using our creative imagination to picture what is going on, and we can really use it to ensure that we are using behaviors that mirror our ambitions. And that is an incredibly exciting place to be. So, remember again, just as a little review from the start, review where you've been, sure, but keep it there. Decide where you want to go and really create that well-formed outcome. Assess where you are now and how best to get where you want to go. And then lastly, really think about any obstacles that might be in your way. You might have to overcome them. You might have to reframe them. You might have to move past them. You might need help to do those things as well. Remember, I'm here to help with all of that too. God, I'm pumped. You can probably hear in my voice, I have sped up the way I'm talking, that's for sure, because this is a good episode. I love this type of stuff. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's been a pleasure to spend this time with you. I hope you have an amazing week. And please check in and follow us and share this episode with anybody who it might help with. You can find us on Spotify, the Unstoppable Introvert Project podcast. You can find us on YouTube if you'd rather watch the video version at Dr. David Hooper. And make sure you connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and TikTok and Facebook at Dr. David Hooper. And I would love to hear from you. If you've got anything you want me to talk about on the show, send me a message. I will happily do it. Or if it's something I can just help with over the DMs, I'll do that as well. So until next time, I hope you have an amazing week. And remember, Being an introvert isn't the thing that will hold you back. It is the thing that will catapult you towards your unstoppable introverted future. Until next time, stay unstoppable.